If you had to think of one NBA player who has made a ton of mistakes in his career, I think a lot of people would say the name J.R. Smith. Smith has been involved in the most tragic moment of his career and the most embarrassing moment in NBA history. Smith accidentally killed his friend back in 2009 when he was going 67 miles per hour when the speed limit was 35. He made the most illogical decision in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, was temporarily banned on Instagram after leaking too much footage inside the NBA bubble, and seemed to have been high during many NBA games. J.R. Smith is now no longer on an NBA team and has gone to college, which has been a huge success for him. So how did J.R. Smith get into a position where he was the biggest meme in NBA history? How is everybody doing today? It's Sports Huddle back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about J.R. Smith and how he has become the most untrustworthy NBA teammate of all time. Let's not waste any time, and let's get straight into it. When J.R. Smith was in high school, he was into 3 sports: baseball, basketball, and football. He had a lot of passion for each sport, but basketball was the one he loved the most. After putting all of his focus into basketball throughout high school, he decided to skip college and go straight to the 2004 NBA draft. Despite the fact he missed college, he was still picked mid-first round by the New Orleans Hornets. Now when J.R. played in New Orleans, he definitely proved some talent. He averaged 10 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds. Smith had a pretty good start to his NBA career. After 2 seasons, he was traded to the Chicago Bulls for Tyson Chandler. Then just 6 days later to the Denver Nuggets for Howard Eisley and a second-round pick. Smith continued putting up respectable stats as he averaged 13 points, an assist, and 2 rebounds per game. The next season was when things started clicking though, at least on the court. Smith played the same during the season, but the playoffs is where his switch turned from pretty good to extremely good. Even though it was just 4 games, Smith averaged 18 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds per game. He may have played well, but this was also the season things got bad for him off the court. In 2007, J.R. Smith and his teammate Carmelo Anthony were involved in a car crash. Smith was driving Melo's car and messed up behind the wheel. Luckily, both men were okay, but it could have been bad. Later in 2007, J.R. Smith was involved in another car crash. 2 passengers were on board, and Smith crashed into an SUV. This crash was way worse than his first one. All 3 people in the car suffered injuries, but one of the passengers in the car, named Andre Bell, suffered the most. After they all went to the hospital, Smith and the second passenger didn't suffer horrific injuries. Andre Bell, however, suffered a head injury that would take his life that same night. Smith's car crash was so bad that he went to court for it. He was being accused for vehicular manslaughter, but a grand jury declined it. Now, just because the jury declined the case doesn't mean it was fully over. Keep watching the video and you will see. This car crash was the start to Smith being involved in worse situations, but let's continue with his career. After the playoffs, it's safe to say Smith's game improved a bit. He was averaging more points, assists, and rebounds and was getting more minutes. That season he averaged 15 points, 3 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. It wasn't bad, but in 2009, Smith's personal life was back to trouble. This time, his career was affected by it. Remember when I told you to remember the 2007 car crash? Well, in 2009, Smith was guilty to reckless driving in the 2007 crash. He was supposed to be in jail for 90 days, but 60 of them were suspended after 500 hours of community service. He was in jail for 24 days. Then in August of 2009, Smith deactivated his Twitter account due to quote-unquote writing in a way that reflected the Bloods gang. Later in August, the Nuggets suspended J.R. for 7 games when the season would start due to the crash, but it was also because of his driving record. Smith got suspended 5 times in 8 months due to poor driving. He was forced to pay a ton of fines. Moving on with his NBA career, Smith would sign with the New York Knicks in 2012. He would end up winning 6th Man of the Year his second year in New York as he averaged 18 points, 2 assists, and 4.5 rebounds per game. He definitely deserved it. But of course, just because he did something good doesn't mean he only did good things. In March 2012, J.R. Smith was fined $25,000 for posting a model onto his account. He was then arrested in May because he failed to appear to court after operating a motor scooter with no license. Not only that, but before Smith played for New York, he went and played in the Chinese Basketball League for for the Golden Bulls. And the Golden Bulls ended up finding him in 2012 because he apparently missed many practices and faked an injury. J.R. Smith was slowly but surely turning into a madman who was not trustable. After playing in New York, Smith was acquired by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Smith did a very good job helping his team out in the 2015-16 season. After winning the NBA Finals, he had one of the most emotional press conferences in NBA history. One thing I thought was pretty funny was that when the Cavaliers had their parade, Smith was spotted not wearing a shirt, and when the Cavs went to the White House, Barack Obama joked about Smith not wearing shirts. It was pretty funny in the moment. Now, as for crimes, Smith stopped doing that when he joined Cleveland, but that doesn't mean he was still doing questionable things. The most notable one was when Smith forgot what the scores were in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and that caused for the Cavs to lose the game. Not only that, but in 2018, J.R. Smith got a huge Supreme logo tattooed on his leg. The NBA had a rule about not promoting other companies or just not getting a certain tattoo. In other words, the NBA did not like it. So they told J.R. to cover it, but he said no. The NBA then decided to threaten him by saying he'll be fined every game if he doesn't cover it up. So he decided to do it. J.R. Smith was at the point of his career where he just wasn't producing as much. He wasn't helping his team, and in fact, was just bailing on them. So in 2020, he signed with the Los Angeles Lakers, and a couple of days after entering the bubble, J.R. Smith hopped on Instagram Live to see what they had on the menus for room service. And after doing that, the NBA made Instagram temporarily disable his account as he revealed too much of the NBA bubble. Isn't that hilarious? In May of 2020, when the protests for George Floyd were going on, a crazy man broke the window of J.R. Smith's car. Smith would be pissed off as he beat the man up and just kept kicking him and punching him. Smith explained how a crazy guy broke his window and he wouldn't let it slide. As of right now, J.R. Smith is in college and is getting great grades. He seems to have restarted a path in life and this time tried college to see how it would go for him. But it's safe to say that J.R. Smith was not a trustable teammate in any way, whether it had to do with car accidents, bad driving in general, fines, or doing weird stuff on social media. We will see if J.R. has matured fully or if he is still that guy. And that is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, please consider to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. I'm out.